Hello and welcome to Cybersecurity Awareness TV. This is episode number 432, recorded June 24th, 2023. My name is Mac Jackson Jr. I am your cybersecurity consultant and researcher. If this is the first time you have viewed my show here on WWDBTV, my show is Cybersecurity Awareness TV, where it is dedicated to help you stay informed and protect you from the fastest growing crimes in the digital world by providing you with news, tips, and interviews that you could use to protect yourself from the fastest growing crimes of the 21st century. I'd like to thank everyone who's been part of our show over the years and supported us here on WWDBTV with Cybersecurity Awareness TV. And if you'd like to be a part of our community and like to follow me, you can find me on social media. But first, go to my website at MacJacksonJR.com. That's MacJacksonJR.com. Folks, remember out there in the social media world to share, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button, folks, to keep aware of all of our upcoming shows here on WWDBTV. If you also like supporters, we're also on the Patreon channel. You can find me on my Patreon channel at patreon.com/MacJacksonJr. Folks, in today's episode, we have three segments. The first segment, we're going to discuss cybersecurity news, the evolving landscape of cybersecurity news, folks, and it is continuing, folks. We're going to continue our report on a story that's now has bloomed and blossomed, and I'm telling you, folks, it is something you definitely do not want to miss, folks. Our second segment, we're going to talk about FBI files, FBI scams that the FBI has warned our citizens about that are still on the increase. And we're going to talk about that, folks, and letting everyone know about these scams so we can avoid them. And of course, in our business segment, we're going to talk about how to prove your business of being productive and still protecting your organization, what you can do about that. In this first segment, cybersecurity news, the evolving landscape of cybersecurity. In the complexity evolving cybersecurity landscape, bad actors are becoming increasingly adaptive to exploiting U.S. digital vulnerabilities. These include individuals and groups, often tied to, organized crimes, nation states that are reluctant in looking at seeking to how to exploit individuals and getting their information and personal data by doing cyber attacks and data breaches. In the recent cyber attacks, there was a shockwave that happened this week, folks, that has hit the U.S. government. Now, we've talked about this for years on our show here at Cybersecurity Awareness TV, and of course, you've seen in the news of government agencies around the world, but especially here in the U.S., being hit with cyber attacks. But now it has been pushed even further. There was a massive cyber attack, again, happened to the U.S. government this week. That's right, folks, this week, because there was a popular software application used by government employees in moving data files from one location to another, from a USB drive to the hard drive to their servers. This particular piece of software was hacked, and it was hacked with malware that in turn brought in the ransomware that allowed this app to attack the infrastructure of governmental agencies and to gain unauthorized access to sensitive governmental systems. The preliminary investigation states that the hackers employed this type of malware and used it also with sophisticated social engineering techniques, which we'll discuss also more about that, to target these weak applications that do not have proper or improved or updated security controls or protocols set up within the organizations. These breaches raise a major concerns overall about the security posture of government agencies and underscores the need for enhanced security measures. Federal authorities are collaborating with cybersecurity experts to analyze the extent of this type of attack and work on ways to preventing it. Now, this is something ongoing, but I'm bringing this up today, folks, to let you guys know that the major attack happened the last couple of weeks, and it is something that we have talked about for years on the show, and almost every month we're always saying, hey, there's something going on, we need to put in better processes and procedures. Folks, this indicates that organizations across the landscape, including your individual organizations, should work closely with government officials and cybersecurity experts like myself and others in mitigating these type of effects. For more on this story, here's our report from NBC News.
Joining me now is global security reporter Dan DeLuce, who has been tracking this story all day long. So, Dan, what more do we know about this, which I know is not a whole lot, but what do we know about the investigation, the potential timeline? Where are we with this?
So this was targeting this software that a lot of people use in and out of government, which helps you transfer files really easily. And they had tried to warn private industry last week about this. There's a press conference going on right now, and so hopefully we'll learn more. But it's still not clear, were sensitive files, data stolen from the U.S. government? And was the group behind this connected somehow to Russian criminal cyber gang?
And you mentioned that there was this warning. Given that there was already a warning from CISA, how is it that the government, that some of these private industries were caught off guard? Why weren't they prepared?
I think they would say that they try to prepare, but they can't fully prepare. It's sort of a new normal now. These kinds of attacks, there's so many of intrusions and attempts that we actually don't hear about. And I think this software is so popular, and it's very hard. Once you kind of plug the dam one place, hackers find some other weakness. And so that's kind of the struggle they're in right now. But there are a lot of questions. You would think at this point they would have prevented something like this.
Are there concerns that they may have hacked into confidential, top secret information?
We don't know at this point. They're not even saying which federal agencies are involved. However, private industry has gotten very hard hit by this. There are dozens of organizations that have had this attack happen. There's a ransomware attempts in those cases. So I think we're still learning the scale of this and whether federal data is vulnerable here.
Could this be something that impacts American consumers too? Could it be that widespread? I mean, if they, in other words,
yes,
have their holdings in some of these companies that were hacked or their information? Okay.
As so many other cyber attacks do, yes, for sure.
And just finally, Dan, you talk about the fact that obviously this is not the first hack. What is being done broadly to better secure government systems?
It's a massive effort. They'll tell you they're spending all this money. They're always trying to hire, really talented engineers from the private sector. But the big thing now is they sort of accept these happen. And the test is how fast you can patch it up, how fast you can repair it. Now, one sort of positive example is in Ukraine. The U.S. helped the government there a lot to fend off Russian cyber attacks, and they feel they've been successful there.
Yes, folks. So according to Gene Easley, the director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agencies, CISA, has recently talked about the cyber attack that happened this week in the federal government agencies and how this cyber attack involved the exploitation of software vulnerabilities. Easley acknowledged that the attackers capitalize on the specific weaknesses in this software and also how the software allowed hackers to gain unauthorized access to government systems. This revelation emphasizes the critical importance of prompting and addressing the importance of patches and updates when it comes to software systems, even yours itself with your computer systems within your organizations. Organizations must look at this as a priority and have a comprehensive understanding of their responsibilities when it comes to maintaining these vulnerabilities, have proper management practices in their organizations. We've talked about this a lot in our show, and we do this with our clients, folks. We emphasize the importance of making sure that you have updates to your operating systems consistently. And yes, these updates, you may think that they can be frustrating because you're in the middle of your business day and you're working and there's your computer system wants to do an update. Yes, folks, updates are needing to be done because the hackers do not give up. They look for vulnerabilities within the software systems that you're using. They find that vulnerability, they exploit it, and they spread it to other software programs and other computer systems across the internet. And that's why it's important for you to make sure that you have these types of procedures set up within your company to protect you. And again, this goes hand in hand with training, which we talked about as well. So we must, folks, maintain a collaborative meetings or collaborative partnership with government private sectors in order to avoid this type of attacks. We have another story I'd like to continue with this event for you. Come to us from NBC.
Secretary of State Tony Blinken has finally been able to win China's agreement to come to Beijing this weekend after the U.S. had canceled that original trip over this Chinese spy balloon incident. Of course, he will be the first Secretary of State to visit China since 2018, the first cabinet secretary since 2019. His visit will be a critical effort to reopen communications that China has broken off, especially military-to-military communications, since then Speaker Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan last August. Among the many topics at issue between the two countries will be China's active program of cyber attacks against the U.S. And joining me now is Jen Easterly, the director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, known as CISA. Director, there's a new report also that several U.S. federal government agencies been hit in a major cyber attack. What do we know about it?
Yeah, so it's a software that federal agencies and companies across the world use. We put out an advisory about this last week, and we're responding to it. You know, these vulnerabilities are pretty common in software, and our job is to work with businesses to ensure they have the resources and tools to mitigate that risk.
How widespread is it? What kind of businesses do they go after, certain industries?
So right now we're focused specifically on those federal agencies that may be impacted, and we're working hand in hand with them to be able to mitigate that risk. We understand that there are businesses, though, around the world. It's another ransomware actor known as Clop ransomware, and they're basically taking data and looking to extort it.
Could it have originated in Russia? Or not in Russia, but
we're tracking
Russians.
it as a criminal group. Many of these criminal groups are located in places like Eastern Europe.
Right. And could it be Russian? Could there be Russian or state action behind it?
It's unknown at this time. Right now, we're tracking it as a well-known ransomware group.
How widespread is this malware in federal agencies?
So we are working with several federal agencies to really understand that. We're working to get that visibility and then make sure that we're able to put measures in place to mitigate any sort of impact. So we're still working through the details of that right now.
So we don't fully have the defenses in place yet. Is that a fair interpretation?
No, we don't have a full understanding of what the impacts are or whether there are impacts, but we're working through it very aggressively. I mean, the situation, since as you remember solar winds in the end of 2020, has changed dramatically in our ability to help have that visibility and those relationships and that collaboration to defend the civilian.gov. So I'm very confident in my team that are working this hour by hour.
I know you have worked very hard, as have others in the administration, to try to get the private sector to do more. And you're concerned about infrastructure, about utilities.
Yeah.
How are you doing in terms of getting private sector cooperation and
Well,
response?
I'll tell you, I've been incredibly encouraged by the collaboration that we've seen over the past couple years with the private sector. We stood up a platform called the Joint Cyber Defense Collaborative, where we work with all manner of critical infrastructure, finance, energy, water, hospitals, education, technology, to share information so that we can drive down risk for the nation. And a great example of this, Andrea, was our Shields Up campaign that was around the Russian invasion of Ukraine, where we talked about the threat and we provided mitigation measures so that we could prevent any significant attacks to the nation's critical infrastructure.
I've been told by other officials in the administration that one of the real concerns is not so much nuclear power and some of the things that we would traditionally think were vulnerable, but water systems.
So it is a real concern, and we've actually made water facilities and utilities a major priority for this year. You know, there's over 150,000 of these facilities around the country. And these are what we call target rich because they can be targeted by threat actors, but then cyber poor because they don't have the resources to be able to defend themselves. And so what we're doing, we're working across the country with our security advisors from CISA in every state to help them understand the measures that they need to take to reduce risk. And we're obviously doing this hand in hand with the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, so that we can put those measures in place to ensure that Americans can get safe and secure water.
You have made it very clear that you've warned about cyber hacking and a widespread espionage campaign from China.
Yeah.
Talk about China and its role in all of this.
Well, we are very concerned, not just, frankly, about data theft and espionage, but the ability for China to hold the critical infrastructure that Americans rely on every day at risk. And so it's great that we're seeing the Secretary of State go there and have an open and frank discussion about these issues, because we just published a report 3 weeks ago with our federal partners and international partners about Chinese intrusions into our critical infrastructure. And this, of course, is very consistent with what we've heard from the intelligence community. I think every American should read the annual threat assessment that talks about aggressive cyber operations against our critical infrastructure, because we need to understand the threat, how formidable this adversary is. It's very, very hard to prevent these disruptions. So we need to be resilient. We need to be prepared to deal with it and ensure that every business puts the measures in place so we can operate even in the face of disruption.
What are some of the vulnerabilities? Which sectors in terms of critical infrastructure to Chinese attacks?
Yeah. So if you look at the annual threat assessment, as I mentioned, it specifically talks that Chinese cyber threat actors are capable of disrupting critical infrastructure like oil and gas pipelines. You remember, of course, Colonial Pipeline in the summer of 2021, and transportation and rail. And the idea would be, in the event of a conflict, China would use aggressive cyber operations to delay military deployment, to affect military decisions, and to induce societal panic. And so very concerned about ensuring that we can continue to have safe and secure water, that we can dispatch first responders, that we can get gas to the pump, that we can get health care to patients. And so we really want to make sure that businesses take the steps they need to take to drive down risk and to build resilience.
And in terms of the breaking news that we were talking to you about with this new malware that we are seeing, which agencies? You mentioned federal agencies. Could you be specific?
Yeah, we have not put that out yet. We want to work with our partners to make sure we fully understand the situation. I am confident, though, that given all of the advances that we have made with our partners, that we are able to drive down that risk in an effective way, so we will not see significant impacts.
Jen Easterly, thank you so much from CISA.
So, folks, over recent years, the United States has faced a growing threat of cyber attacks with the critical infrastructure of our nation. These infrastructure, folks, includes power, water, gas. These facilities, folks, are all computerized. They have servers, and yes, some of the parts of these systems are within the internet, and they must be protected. These attacks come from various sectors, like we discussed, from energy, transportation, and government agencies. These such incidences highlights the vulnerabilities of the United States infrastructure involving tactics employed by sophisticated adversaries. These nation-state-sponsored attacks aim to exploit the weaknesses of critical systems and disrupt the essential services, exposing significant risk of the nation's security and the economic stability of our country. The motives behind these attacks range from espionage to extortion, potential sequence beyond the disruption of long-time damage to our nation. The United States and other government officials around the world have recognized this severity, and they're doing what they can. But the best thing they're doing right now, folks, is working on this 24/7. This is now an evolved working environment where agencies are collaborating with the private sector, with government agencies, and they're creating mastermind groups. They're creating cybersecurity centers around the country, studying, investigating, and researching what the hackers are doing. It is a cat and mouse game, folks, and we, myself and others, are involved in it, working with government agencies, looking at vulnerabilities in our economy here with businesses and how to stop these types of attacks that happen. As you know, folks, these attacks are not a one-time incident. They are a continuous campaign. These nation states and hacking groups have study programs, mastermind groups, even universities that they have in foreign countries that study on the vulnerability of the West and how to break into the Western system and cause chaos and break down the systems. So as cybersecurity alert people, we must stay aware of what's going on, of these vulnerabilities, by making sure that we have the best and the most up-to-date information available. That's what we do here on Cybersecurity Awareness TV, to bring that to you. Folks, like we always say on our show, hashtag stay cyberwoke. We'll be back after these messages.
What's your biggest hassle with packing for travel? Is it wrinkled clothing? Is it not being able to take what you want to take so that you have it when you need it? Or is it, even if you could pack it all, how would you possibly carry it all? Then there's lost luggage, and where do you store all that luggage at home? It all boils down to this: you don't have what you want when you need it. You're stressed before you even start your trip. I'm Rashmi Hudson, inventor of the ultimate 3-in-1 travel set. Say hello to wrinkle-free packing and hassle-free boarding with our patented 3-in-1 travel set, and get ready to travel with confidence once again. You get 3 quality pieces that connect into one compact carry-on, or you can use them independently if you like. We solve 3 of the biggest problems with most garment bags. 2 zippers to easily lay your favorite pieces. No more cramming through one zipper. Hook and loop straps hold our hangers to avoid clips that break. And we use durable diamond ripstop lining in all pieces to contain tears. Quality that keeps us out of landfills. Exclusively ours, 13.5 inches extension pocket for extra storage or longer items. And when you get to your room, unpack without unpacking. Simply hang up your garment bag and go. Goodbye hotel irons, no more burn marks that waste precious time and money. Our carefully engineered duffel has stiff bottom and sides, making this your drawer on the go. Never unpack so you never forget. Protective feet on the bottom, mesh pockets all around keep things in place, including a lockable privacy pocket, organizer pocket, and add a bag zipper in case you want to use just the duffel. No packing cubes needed with the ultimate. Avoid the plastic, help save the planet. You also get this fully lined day pack with a full-size zippered pocket for your shoes, bike rides, and dirty laundry, complete with comfort leather glides. Now, simply connect on the top and you are ready to go. On the bottom, you have 2 additional straps to further secure your garment bag, and feet to protect your ultimate, and an add-a-bag zipper to use with your wheeled computer case or luggage. We especially source these pulls to lock in place so you can run to catch your flight. Zip around the airport and keep your bag germ-free with this ergonomic comfort strap. Carry on your shoulder or crossbody. Padded, non-slip, seatbelt webbing won't fray, and stainless steel hardware. The ultimate 3-in-1 travel set will be your all-time favorite. Easily fits in overhead bins, saves you time, money, and stress. Quality material that's sustainable. And when you come home, self-storage and day pack, freeing up that much-needed closet space. So pack it all and travel easy.
Hey folks, welcome back to Cybersecurity Awareness TV. I'm your host, Mac Jackson Jr. In this segment, we're discussing the FBI reports and their warnings to all citizens of the U.S. and around the world. Here in this story, we uncovered here in Cybersecurity Awareness TV for the last year a warning that FBI agencies have warned citizens of the U.S. and around the world of victim scams. Crypto scams, which leverage the sort of catfishing, right? Version of catfishing is on the increase. And this week, folks, these crimes are now taking off even more. There are more and more victims. They need to watch our show, folks. We need to tell more people to be more prepared for these types of crimes. The victims of these crimes could be anybody. And they're really interesting how they use these techniques in getting information from you. They're using programs on your phone such as FaceTime and WhatsApp. That's right, folks, WhatsApp. In other words, you meet someone on FaceTime or in Messenger, and they try to befriend you by using their intellect of what they know about you, or they're trying to romance you because you're single, you're looking to find romance, right? This is called social engineering, which I discussed earlier in our show about how these attacks happen. Folks, this is a campaign. It's not an incident. It's not like the person instantly asks you for money from one call. No, of course, you'd say no and hang up. They try to get to know you by understanding your business, what you're doing, your interest, your personality, having a conversation, chatting back and forth. They may be as brazen enough to talk to you on the telephone. Once they've established this friendship with you and you think this person is cool, they give you some so-called credentials, you may check out their website, which is a term can be faked as well. And this person looks like they have the intellect and information that you can trust with to be a trustworthy friend. Turns out they're trying to bait you. Now, there's a term for this. It's called pig butchering. And this term comes from China, and it means you're fattening up the pig before it goes into slaughter. Now, that same technique is used here in cyber, where they're trying to fatten you up with believability that they are a good person. And now you believe this person and what they're saying. You're seeing, you're believing, you believe everything they say before they go in for the slaughter. And that means they come in and steal your personal information. Now, it's a very destructive term here, this pig butchering, but that's exactly what it is. And has led to thousands of people across the country losing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in these types of scams. And before you know it, it could happen to any of us. We need to make sure that we are aware of this. Vetting is the solution, folks. Vetting everyone that you think about or believe that's a part of this types of corruption, especially in the cryptocurrency. These cryptocurrency, of course, is anonymous, and its decentralized nature makes it a challenge to trace back to who these funds were delivered to and how to get your money back for return or refund. To protect yourselves, users must exercise cautions in interacting with unknown persons online, conduct thorough research before investing in cryptocurrency projects from any type, and remain vigilant and just be suspicious. This is what the FBI recommends that we all do. And folks, for a very disturbing story I want to present to you today, it comes from us from ABC News. Check the story out.
So she got in touch with me from LinkedIn.
It was the start of a friendship
She's a Chinese lady here in the States.
that spanned for months.
She just wanted information about America and Western civilization, and then we basically chatted daily.
But as the weeks went on, one question remained.
Yeah, there's the old saying, too good to be true.
Was she real?
So I said, would you like to FaceTime? And she said yes.
Wow, that shows how long you guys talked for. My goodness.
Concerned about retaliation, our source did not want to show his face, but wanted to tell his story. We'll call him Kevin.
Yeah, so she asked after about a day or so on LinkedIn if we could switch to WhatsApp.
Kevin and Chang'an began talking in January 2023. We were not able to independently verify the photos, and they could be of someone else. That's why we're hiding her identity.
This is basically how it started, and she sent me a picture of herself.
He was cautious, but intrigued.
But there was always that tingling in the back of my mind that, there's something not right here.
The more they talked, the more he learned, like where she lived,
She said she lived in San Francisco in Pacific Heights.
her history,
She had come here supposedly after she'd been divorced.
and her job.
She was a financial trader.
It's how she paid for her lavish lifestyle.
She was showing me her house and her clothes and the stuff for material goods. So at that point I was thinking, well, why would a wealthy person be wanting to scam me?
His trust grew as their communication moved to voice memos.
It's very nice to hear your voice. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night.
Then FaceTime.
So it was her when you were FaceTiming.
Yep. So that was very convincing. And I actually asked her about how she was doing investment, and she offered to teach me. I said, sure, I'd love to learn.
Were you involved in crypto before this at all?
No, I had just heard about it.
She claimed to know when to buy crypto to make a profit.
She had an uncle who had inside trader information.
She spent hours showing Kevin how to sign up for crypto and invest through these detailed instructions.
She was suggesting that I only do a minimum amount so I can feel comfortable. And I'm like, okay, at this point, I'm like, I'll risk $1,700 and we'll see what happens.
While texting, they watched the market.
She tells me now buy. And I clicked the buy button and ended up making $388 profit.
A few days later, her uncle got another tip. Kevin said he'd do another $1,700.
And she came back and said, oh, isn't there supposed to be a zero on the end of that? And I said, 17,000? I said, no way. Are you crazy?
she got upset.
And tell me that I'm not taking risks, and nobody gets anywhere in life without taking risks.
Kevin's trust dwindled as she applied more pressure.
I mean, at that point, I'm thinking, well, maybe I'd go to the FBI. I don't know.
Kevin didn't end up going to the FBI, but we did.
But I've worked basically every threat that cyber has to offer.
In the world of cyber and counterterrorism threats,
My niche is hacking the mind of a hacker.
Special Agent Hassani has seen it all. But in 2021, he began seeing a new scam, pig butchering.
But it just refers to raising little piglets, fattening them up, and butchering them. And they're fattening up their victim with illusions of grandeur, of wealth, of love, before bleeding them dry.
Pig butchering, or what the FBI has kindly coined confidence scams,
We have a much nicer title for it.
are a combination of two popular cons.
Investment scams and romance scams.
Pig butchering starts long before you may think.
But with technology, where we are today, all our information is out there. And the criminals harvest this information. Before they make contact, they typically know quite a bit about the person.
Like your vulnerabilities.
If I find out that you're a religious person, I can exploit your faith. And once you start to become suspicious of me, I can use God as an example of, hey, God brought us together. I don't know why you're resisting.
They also prey on the sick and the lonely.
If you have cancer, I can pose as somebody who has cancer.
Then they reach out.
Unsolicited contact. Have you ever gotten a text message that just reads hi from an unknown number?
LinkedIn, dating apps, text messages, and more. These are all ways pig butcherers make contact, and once you respond, they stay in touch.
Pig butchering is a long game. The idea is to cultivate trust, which takes time.
During that time, the scammer often does exactly what Kevin saw.
They start with usually a DM, and then they move to WhatsApp.
Messages on the app WhatsApp are encrypted.
So even if we subpoena WhatsApp, all we can really see is their contact information.
The scammer poses as someone wealthy who knows finance and can teach you how to invest.
But a big part of the scam is using crypto. It's a way for the bad guys to launder money and get it overseas quickly.
They get the crypto cash by directing the victim to move it.
But I then have you send it to another wallet, and then to another wallet, and then to another wallet, and that last wallet would be mine.
So who are these scammers really?
Is this organized crime?
Yes.
Between groups?
Yes.
Or it's not just like one scam?
No. And a lot of times the scammers, believe it or not, are victims themselves. They'll apply for a job and they show up and it's this ring, so to speak, and they're stuck. And they're given this script and they're told they're going to do it.
And it's a full-time job.
They must have worked hours and hours on this story. Extremely detailed.
Luckily, Kevin caught on just in time.
So I did call her out and I said, I think you're scamming me.
He never invested more money. Now he's learned if he did, he likely would have lost it.
So what they do is they get you to invest a small sum, they get your confidence up, and then they take it from you the second time.
But could Cheng be real if he FaceTimed with her? We gave Cheng's information to the FBI to investigate. A few weeks later, Kevin got a letter warning him of the potential scam. Others don't walk away so lucky. Special Agent Hassani said he's seen people give their life savings, millions, to these pig butcherers.
Once they have the money, if they get all of it, they spend it. And that's why it's crucial to report this as soon as a victim is even remotely suspicious.
You can report by going online to ic3.gov.
This happens every day. It's a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. It's going to continue.
Even though Kevin walked away ahead of the game, he's sharing his story in hopes others become wary of the scam.
Just don't even mess with them. They need to learn that they just can't take money from everybody. And then we're on to them.
Folks, as you've seen, these special warnings like this from the FBI and from my company here, Vanderson Cyber Group, we are warning the citizens in regards to these types of scams. And again, they include pig butchering scam, the crypto scam, and the romance scam. These scams, again, are being used increasingly by scammers and cybersecurity criminals around the world. Yes, folks, the numbers are going up. We figured that would go down after information is being disseminated to the public. But nope, folks, they're always looking for ways to find out vulnerabilities. These romance scams remain prevalent, where these scammers are creating fake profiles on dating and websites and social media platforms to establish fake romantic relationships. They're used to manipulate victims and exploit their trust to extract money and personal information. And folks, I've seen this done hands-on with clients of mine, with people they've talked to on apps like Microsoft Messenger, or MS Messenger, or Messenger itself, even FaceTime and WhatsApp. These scammers are trying to get you to coerce you to go to their WhatsApp app and send them money. Right? Send them money. You'll never see that money again, and you probably won't see the victim. I live here in Las Vegas, right? So you find that these scammers are trying to get you to send them tickets to come to Las Vegas, all right? Because they want to meet you or become part of Las Vegas atmosphere. And they try to coerce you by contacting you, sending you email messages through your business or your personal email address, trying to find out all they can about you. Folks, it's very, very important not to trust. Or as one great president said back in the early 80s, trust but verify. All right, trust but verify. Just making sure that you know who you're talking to when it comes to these types of scams. When you get any information like this on your smartphone or your device, and it's someone that's sending you a message, they want you to click on a link because it's some information that they have found out about you. One of them is really interesting, I'll share with you, and it says something like, hey Mac, I see that this was a video that I saw you in on a show that you did back in the 80s. Well, of course, that sounds enticing, right? And no, I did not click on it, but I did take the URL and I transferred it over to our security server that we have using VMware, and it absolutely was malware. And what they were trying to do, they were trying to grab information from my phone of all my contacts and then send them information as if it was from me to get them to click on a certain link. What they're looking to do is to infect your smartphones or your laptops and try to find information on your systems that are relating to your user ID and passwords, where they can get information about your banking or financial accounts. That's why it's very, very important that you do not click on any links. If someone sends you something that you think they are a friend, use the old-fashioned way, folks. Pick up a phone and call them and ask them that they send you something. Now, again, these hackers are really sophisticated. They would hack into one of your friends' accounts, posing as your friend, and send you a link information. So you think it's legitimate because it came from someone you know. Again, folks, do not click on it, especially with SMS messages from your smartphones. This is the low-hanging fruit, and hackers are utilizing it because we're now more sophisticated and trained. If we get emails that seems like it comes from our bank, we will delete them and not click on them. People are getting more trained, getting better trained on that. But when it comes to SMS messages, there's no graphics. This is just a link. And now using programs like Bitly, which gives you a shorter URL, you don't know if that is a legitimate link or not. Don't click on it, folks. Definitely call the person and have them give you the regular URL or contact them in a different way. Folks, we must stay vigilant about this type of thing as these crimes are growing and increasing here every day. And we must tell a friend. So what you've heard from me in this show, Cybersecurity Awareness TV, make sure you tell a friend. We need to get the word out, more and more people involved. Folks, hashtag stay cyber woke. We'll be back after these messages. Hello, folks. This is Mac Jackson Jr. from Vanderson Cyber Group. The problem with businesses today is that they are affected by cyber attacks from around the world, but companies are not sure of what to do. Normally, they are reactive instead of proactive. But folks, cyber attacks can affect your bottom line, and it will affect you financially, legally, and your business reputation. Here at Vanderson Cyber Group, we can help you develop a policy by training your employees on what to do if they are involved in a cyber attack and how to mitigate it and fight against it. Folks, we call it here #StayCyberWoke. And that's Vanderson Cyber Group here in Las Vegas and around the world. You can reach me, folks, at VandersonCyberGroup.com or my website, MacJacksonJr.com as well. Here locally, 702-868-0808. Give us a call today, folks. We must fight back. Hi, folks. Welcome back to Cybersecurity Awareness TV. I'm your host, Mac Jackson Jr. In this segment, we're talking about business productivity and tips that you should know to protect your business. Folks, as we always say, think before you click. Today's show talked about the increasing attacks that are ongoing by cyber attackers. Now in June of this year, of 2023, the attacks are just skyrocketing, more than they were 4 months ago when we were talking about these type of attacks. Because hackers are finding other ways to exploit and find vulnerabilities within your systems at your workplace. You must keep on top of what's going on. The best ways, folks, is to be a part of shows like mine and others that are out there regarding cybersecurity awareness. So the question I have for you, is your business equipped with a robust cybersecurity awareness program for your employees? Right? Just think about that. Is your business equipped with a robust cybersecurity awareness program for your employees? In the era of complex cybersecurity tactics used by hackers to try to get your company, it is imperative that you remain vigilant in training your employees as the ultimate defense against these types of attacks. We here at Cybersecurity Awareness TV want to bring you to my company, Vanderson Cyber Group, to offer you a comprehensive training program that you could use to be a fortress in protecting your organization from these types of threats. Now, it's really broken down in 3 simple areas: people, processes, and technology. My company and my consultants, my resources that I work with, will help guide you and help transform your company to the next steps in a journey of protecting your data with the correct cybersecurity posture. That's basically what's being used by the military and other large corporations. We can do this by helping your small business with these same types of frameworks. Our tailored program and consulting is a valuable asset for your organizations to make sure that your team becomes more cybersecurity aware of what's going on and understand their roles and responsibilities. By investing in this type of training program, you will notice that your company and your team has a better culture of security within your organizations, and the human factor has been discussed and hardened with cybersecurity awareness training. So if you'd like to find out more about that and discover how your company is protected, definitely contact my company at Vanderson Cyber Group. That's VandersonCyberGroup.com. Or you can find out more about my speaking engagements at your organizations by going to my website at MacJacksonJr.com. Folks, that's all we have for you this week. Again, folks, we want you to make sure that you take this video and clip and you send it to friends and family that you know. Have them subscribe to MacJacksonJr.com as well as WWDBTV for information